Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson, and today's guest has written professionally for over 20 years, building a solid international reputation. During that time, she discovered there was a real need for wholesome, quality children's literature that could be enjoyed by parents and grandparents alike. She understood the concern parents and grandparents felt as they struggled to find children's stories they could trust and feel good about sharing with their young ones. And because of this realization, she understands how important it is to keep story time safe. Eager to fill this niche, she began prayerfully crafting quality stories from the heart that contain important life lessons written in a style that doesn't talk down to children. And she has done a lot more than that, and we will hear about that in this interview. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Miss Carrie Pierce. Welcome,
Oh,
Carrie.
thank you, Jackie. It's a joy to be here with you today. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. Of course, I'm excited about your topic because I do children's ministry work, and what our children are being fed is so important to me because we want them to feel empowered and we want them to thrive. So, can you
Yes,
tell our audience, how did you get into writing these books? Because we heard a little bit, but there's another story behind this.
that is true. And I have written for a very long time, and most of my writing was geared toward the middle-age audience. I've written thousands of health-related articles for men and women 50 and above. So as I was doing that, I started noticing that they were having difficulty sourcing quality literature that they felt good about sharing with their young ones, whether they were their actual children or their grandchildren. Childhood, I feel, is such a special time. It's a time of innocence, and it's also a time of challenge. You know, the world's a scary place when you're young and new, and it can be overwhelming. And in my own personal recollections of growing up, I had insecurities, as I think we all do. I had fears, as I think we all do. And it was difficult coming up with stories that really helped me understand that's a normal part of life. And I found in today's world, those kind of stories are rare. There's more stuff out there that doesn't really allow children to feel their feelings or to know that it's okay to be afraid or that it's okay if the world is overwhelming. And so I wanted to provide quality literature, as you said in the introduction, that is free of agenda. I wanted to provide writing that was pure and wholesome, and I wanted to provide stories that not only helped children overcome their fears and their insecurities, but that also was a joy for the parents or the grandparents to read aloud. So that is something that I think kind of separates my writing a little bit. I'm writing not only for the children, but I'm writing for the adults that have to read the story as well. Because as you know, in today's world as adults, we also have insecurities and fears, and the world can be a scary place. I just discovered through the course of my writing that there was a need for this kind of, I don't want to say old-fashioned writing, but I think my writing does harken back to an earlier, gentler time.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. And I believe you're right. Our children are overly exposed to things that are just, they just should not even have exposure to: violence, sex, and
Mhm.
so many other things. Why not take them back to a time of innocence and really
Mhm.
focus their mind on the things that they need to help build them up, their self-esteem, so that they can become productive adults?
That's true. Very well said. You said that better than I did.
No, no, you got it, you got it. So, can you share with our audience some of the books that you have written?
Well, my children's books, I have two available right now. I have some other books, pertaining to the articles and the content that I mentioned earlier, but I have two children's books out. One is called Abby Appletree, and it's a shorter book. It's about 40 pages or so. It's a three-chapter book. And then my new one is out on the market, and it's quite a thing. It's about 18 years in the making, and it's almost 40,000 words. and it's called The Tale of Tommy Tomlinson's Tennis Shoes. It's quite a saga. It's got a lot of an adventure in it. It's based around an adventure, overcoming fear. And it comes with some stickers and an 11 by 17 poster as well. So that's a new thing for me, is to have stickers and a poster.
That's pretty cool. I think the kids definitely would love to have that. Writing children's books is not the only thing that you do. You've also ghostwritten and you also have a publishing company. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, yes, I feel it is so important, as does my business partner, Sandra Morgan. So important for especially Christian writers to get their voice heard and to get their messages out there in today's world. And so we started a publishing house called Morgan Pierce Media and Publishing. And between the two of us, we have basically a collective 60 years experience in the media world and also publishing. So we started that together, wanting to kind of shepherd Christian authors especially, and give voice to those important light-filled messages that the world so needs now. So we've been working on that quite a bit, just shepherding the authors that we have. And then also I am starting my third children's book, which shall remain nameless, but that's also going to be quite a lengthy book as well. So yeah, there's always a lot going on. We try to never sit still terribly long. We really do believe that this world needs as much light as possible. We just want to do whatever we can to get that light out there.
Yeah, and it sounds like that you are providing a light for the path through your children's books as well as through the publishing market. And I know one of the things, like you said, you want to make sure that the authors have the right type of guidance. You being an author yourself, you know that many times people do have particular agendas and they are taking advantage of people. And so would you say that you're carrying over that same type of message from your children's book into your publishing company, where you're helping those authors' voices get heard, but in a way that is free of those agendas?
That's certainly our mission and our passion. Most of my children's books revolve around overcoming fear, pushing past fear, taking a leap of faith when it's needed the most. And that is what we do at Morgan Pierce Media and Publishing for our authors. It's first and foremost in our mind and everything that we do for our authors. We have been taken advantage of ourselves as published authors. There's a lot of machine parts in publishing, and it's easy to get kind of ground up in them if you're not careful or you don't know what you're doing. And so the mission that we had first and foremost with Morgan Pierce was, don't do to authors what we ourselves had personally done to us. We want to take our authors and shepherd them very lovingly and carefully through the publishing process. There's an awful lot that goes on in the making of a book. I mean, you have the many different types of editing that has to take place. You have the licensing of, registering with the Library of Congress. It has to be done, the ISBN numbers. And I think what a lot of aspiring authors don't really realize is you go through all of these things to get your book published, but that's just the beginning. Once you have your book, then the hard part starts and the risky part starts. And that's where you have to do your own marketing and you have to do all of these things. And in the process of creating your book, you have to worry about cover design. And there's just all these things that have to go into it that most people don't realize. So we're kind of set up to be one-stop shopping in that regard. We shepherd our authors very carefully through all of that process. We do the cover design. Of course, they have input. We don't just take their manuscript from them and do with it what we want to. They have input every step of the way, and I feel like that's very important. And then we also do the entire process all the way into the marketing that comes afterward. The nice thing about how we do it, I feel, and with my books as well, it's print on demand or publish on demand. And that makes it much more affordable for authors because you don't have to then buy a whole bunch of copies of your book and then warehouse them in your garage where they get mildewed or the bugs eat them or, something like that. They're fresh every time an order is placed. It's a fresh book that is printed, packaged, and shipped, and the authors don't have to do any of that on their own either. So I do feel it's a scary thing to write and to put your baby out there for the world. It's a brave thing to do, and you need to be extremely careful about how you choose to do that and who you allow your baby to go to. Someone once said writing is like giving birth to a bale of barbed wire. And it can be painful.
And again, I see these themes throughout, and where you're so careful with your authors. And when I think back to your children's books again, it's so important for us to build up the right thing in children so that they won't be people who take advantage of people later on in life. And so you're really creating this cycle here, whether you realize it or not, that, hey, these children are going to be taken care of, these authors are going to be taken care of, and we're filling in these gaps. What is next for you, Carrie?
Oh, wow. I hope big, good things. I mean, my heart is certainly in everything that I do, as is my business partner, Sandra's. We are bringing on new authors. We are also finishing up and about to release some very pivotal books, some stories from some incredible women that have lived quite a bit of hardship and have seen God's hand at work and his light in their own personal lives. So we're about to release, I think, some very interesting and important works that harken back to getting the light out there and the truth out there. So we're excited for them, and we're excited for ourselves. We're bringing some new authors on. As I mentioned earlier, am starting to work on my third children's book. And cranking out children's books, it can be very time consuming. And this last one took a number of years, as I mentioned earlier, and a lot of care. I hope that as we roll out more books, that there will be film and TV. We also have the ability to turn some of our manuscripts into screenplays for marketing to networks. That is something else that we do. So I do hope very much that as our authors get out into the world and my children's books get out into the world, that will be part of the process that does happen a bit further down the road. I think we have some books and some manuscripts that would make some stellar TV series type work, or also very interesting film pieces.
Yes, certainly exciting. Tell people how they can connect with you.
Well, we can be found at morganpiercemediapublishing.com. You can email me at Carrie at morganpiercemediapublishing.com, and I spell my name Carrie. And then you can find my books, Abby Appletree and The Tale of Tommy Tomlinson's Tennis Shoes, for sale on Amazon. And you can also purchase both of those books through our own website, morganpiercemediapublishing.com. I'm scattered around out there, all sorts of different places with my books, but I hope the stories will resonate with both the children and the grown-ups that share them. I do use big words in my stories, and I do so by design and on purpose because I feel it's important to open up conversation. And I also want to make little minds curious. What is that big word? What does it mean? Or I also write in a technologically obsolete way on purpose in my stories because I want children to have to stop and ask their grandparents what certain things are in my stories. So a lot of crafting has gone into my stories to make them kind of technologically obsolete by design. I just hope that if your listeners choose to purchase my books, that they receive a blessing through them and that they are beneficial and helpful and enjoyable. I think story time should be, like we talked about earlier, a safe time in a time of purity and innocence where you're actually making sweet memories that last a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie, as we wrap up your interview, what is the one thing that you want to leave with the people? The one thing they need to know and that they can start implementing into their life today?
I think that's a incredibly important question. I would say now more than ever, if you are a Christian writer, or if you have a Christian message or a message that has light in it, now more than ever, this world needs you. And if you have a writing ability, or even if you don't, there are ghost writers that can help you write. There are all sorts of things. If you have light to spread in this world, now more than ever, you must do everything within your power to spread it. It is so needed. We are all here. That is our ministry, and why we are here, especially during this time, to spread the light and the truth. And we must be strong and vigilant and clear as we stand up to spread those messages of light. So I hope that resonates with your listeners, and I hope they will move forward to do everything in their power to use their talent to get the light out there.
I love it. CWS audience, you have heard her. My favorite thing she has said, be a light or create the path to the light. Whatever you decide to do, let's help other people in this world. They need the light that you can share. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And until next time, beautiful people, God bless.